It's funny, I've recently heard some people complain about who gets to use the N word. That's what I've heard people say. And I've heard white people suggest that they think it's outrageous that they don't get to use the N word and that somehow it means something different if a white person says it than if a black person or if an African American uses the expression. And I want to get at some of this, talk about race and the way that language plays into it. First off, I want to say that there is a kind of problem when people think that words just have meaning independent of the context or the situation or the person who utters it. That's really the problem. And there's so many ways to get at this. Like I've heard some, and I think it comes from people thinking categorically and really abstractly, and they don't pay attention to particular situations. Like I've heard people say, just as an example, you know, again, this is sort of white people. I'm picking on white people here, right? As I know more white people than I know, I guess, other races, right? But I've heard people say stuff like, well, geez, some of them want to be called black, some of them want to be called African American. How am I supposed to know what to do? And it's what the person says. I mean, just try to think of thinking that categorically about other people. It's really funny, but this logic plays out in so many ways, and I think it is the N word, right? Let me see if I can move into the case here, okay? Not to say people can't use it, but don't think that you can use it and have it mean what you want it to mean. It means what it will mean given the context of its utterance and you, given your subject position, uttering it. Okay, so one day I was in my office when I was at Purdue. This is when I was a grad student. This is many years ago. God, it's a long time ago. It was in the early 90s. And I had some students come in, and I was a young person. I was in my mid 20s, late 20s, and they had asked. Some students had come in, and they asked me about what I was doing this weekend, and if I was going out, and I can't remember what happened, but some of them said, yeah, we're getting together with a couple of chicks, and if you want to come, we're going to go out, and here's where we're going to be. And I went, yeah, sounds great. I'll see what I can do. Well, there were some women in the office next door to me, and they came beelining over right into my office and went, what the hell? Did you just let those students use the word chicks in front of you? And at first, I didn't even know what they were talking about. And I went, yeah, I guess I did. Yeah, I guess I'll let them use the word chicks. And they were like, oh, right here in your office, in the academy, right here, you let them reproduce the conditions of patriarchal oppression? Chicks? What kind of a diminutive is that? And they started ranting at me about them using the word chick and not correct, the students using the word chick and me not correcting them. It was really funny, and I was like, oh, geez, and I felt bad, and I thought, wow, that's kind of militant, and I thought, well, all right, whatever. I was trying to be hip. Feminism was really rich in the air at the time, especially in the program I was in. And I was in some classes where a lot of these issues were being talked about. A little bit, it wasn't but 2 or 3 days later, I'm sitting there minding my own affair, kind of reading in my office, and I hear some of them talking, and they're over there, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And one of them said, yeah, a couple of chicks did this, that, and the other thing. And then they went on to some story. Well, you can imagine. I beelined over there and said, oh my, I think I've heard some patriarchal oppression going on. Thought I'd come over here and correct it. Many of them told me, you shut up. You don't get to say that now. And I was so pissed. I was like, what? Before you want me to correct people using the word chick, and now you're telling me I can't correct you while you use it? This doesn't seem right at all. What the hell is going on with this? And they struggled to give an explanation. I struggled to understand, and it took me a long time to put it into perspective. But I guess I've, over the years, come to understand that what something means depends upon who says it, to whom they say it, where they say it, and that's part of the meaning of it. And so, let me give you an example. So, say I'm out on the basketball court and I'm running around, and I'm and I don't even know how to dribble a baseball, people. I'm not an athlete at all. But I'm out there and I throw up my shot. If I make the shot and then I yell, best shot ever, it means something different than if I'm out there and I do that shot and then someone else on the court says, best shot ever. It somehow means something. If I walk into a room and I'm wearing a really nice tuxedo and I say, this is a nice tuxedo, it's so different than if I'm walking into that room and someone else comes up and says, this is a nice tuxedo. is who says it matters. I think the question of the N word isn't who gets to, who doesn't, and do you do a finger shake. It's to be mature enough to have an understanding that there is a difference of meaning depending upon who says it, where they say it, how it's said. I think those dynamics really shouldn't be underestimated. So, for whatever it's worth, those would be some thoughts about the N word. Okay, thanks.